On this week's episode, can Call of Duty find renewed success with Black Ops 4? Who should really get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? And the legacy of the Nightmare Before Christmas as it hits 25. All this and more as we once again delve into the pop culture cosmos. And we're back with another episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. My name is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We truly appreciate you listening to all of our programs, but it wouldn't be a Pop Culture Cosmos without my good friend. He is the protagonist at Humanican Media. You gotta check out everything that's going on today at humanicanmedia.com, Humanican Media on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and so much more. It is my good friend. It is Josh Peterson. How you doing, man? Another great week ahead coming up for us in pop culture.
That's right. That's right. I'm also my own antagonist sometimes, so just remember that.
Absolutely. Give and take, yin and yang. But it is a great episode we've got coming up for you indeed. We've got Mike Faber and Kevin Eldridge, Mike of the ESO Network and Kevin Eldridge of the Flopcast. They're going to be by a little bit later on in the program to talk a lot about what's going on with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because the nominees were recently announced, and we're going to share our thoughts on who we think of those nominees should be the first one selected into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Plus, we also have Tyler Baker wrapping up everything in a nice, neat little, tidy little bow with the Fantasy Football Pater podcast. He is going to stop by to wrap up everything in Week 6 in the NFL and share some thoughts. I am also going to throw out a couple questions at him in regards to some things here and there that I think are pertinent for fantasy football owners out there. But first, Josh, we've got a lot of things to talk about when it comes to pop culture. We are right in the midst, man, of a lot of good things coming out as far as a lot of across a lot of entertainment platforms. But I think the biggest thing right now coming out, and supposedly it's out and available in certain areas, in certain ways, in certain stores, is Call of Duty Black Ops 4. The, I guess, yearly rendition is now back and back strong in stores. It's coming out with a lot of different things that they're adding in the mix this time around when it comes to the campaign mode, which has actually, well, that's gone, man. And I don't know if it's ever coming back. Instead, they're actually diving headfirst into the Battle Royale genre, which is so heavily populated now and so successful for games like Fortnite and PUBG. They're diving in headfirst into it with their version called Blackout. Your thoughts on Call of Duty Black Ops 4? Is this something that you are going to see a resurgence in the series? Because the series has fallen a little bit off from where it reached earlier this decade when it comes to a plateau in sales, and obviously the latter end of the last decade as well. So I want to hear your thoughts, my friend. Your Call of Duty Black Ops 4, is it something that people are going to come back to in big time numbers?
It's weird because over at GameBiz, they actually, I think that's the name of the site. They released an article saying that
GamesIndustry.biz?
yeah, that one. They released an article saying that people were more anticipating Call of Duty than Red Dead Redemption 2, which was kind of weird to me. And then now that I'm like hearing people talk about it, now it's out, and I've talked to people who've played it, like it sounds like they're digging it quite a bit.
Well, that's good. Well, that's good to hear because some of the things that we've talked about before when it comes to Call of Duty franchise, especially you, someone who has been weaned off of the Call of Duty series, and really, if he ever wants to get back into it, we'll be doing so kicking and screaming. So I want to hear more about why Call of Duty Black Ops 4 may be something that a lot of people may want to get back into. And is it just because they ditched the campaign and they've included a new Blackout Battle Royale mode?
Yeah, so from what I understand, I was just reading the review in progress over at Polygon, and it sounds like it's kind of like the Valve's Orange Box. You know how it had a bunch of different games inside of it, and you can play. Um,
Portal, Team Fortress 2, and of course Half-Life.
yeah, and while they all exist in the same loosely, I guess, in the same universe, like they're all kind of separate games. So on this one, you have your standard multiplayer, I guess, and then you have your battle royale mode, which is what Blackout, I think it's called, and zombies. So um they're kind of, yeah, three different games, but from what I understand, there are like kind of story concepts inside of them. So when you start each of these game modes, you get a cutscene that kind of does its part to tie these game modes or this, Black Ops into the greater Black Op lore. So that's cool. I guess they're making an effort. I don't know if it's enough to make me want to play it, but I'm definitely interested to keep reading about it and keep talking to people about it. And maybe one day, I guess if it's on sale on Black Friday, I could be persuaded to pick it up. But again, like I only play multiplayer games when I have people to play them with. So it's not something I go out of my way to play by myself. But it sounds like it's doing well. And I know as far as the scoring system on Battle Royale goes, it's not ideal, but people are enjoying it a little bit. So we'll see how it holds up against Fortnite in the long run. But what do you think about it?
I still have my doubts about it because of the fact that are they going to be able to duplicate the success of PUBG and especially Fortnite? Are they going to have a mode that actually challenges the likes of those two, and people will go streaming into their neck of the woods as opposed to what they were doing so far with PUBG and Fortnite? The first thing I will tell you, it will be hard to wean any of those players that are playing Fortnite for free like me on occasion and actually going over into paying something that's $60 just to play pretty much essentially the same type of mode that I can play on Fortnite. Yeah, Fortnite is not as fresh as say what a Blackout mode could offer right now, because Blackout mode obviously is the newest kid on the block when it comes to the battle royale genre, but I still am leery about what will be the future for the Call of Duty franchise. This is a big this is a big move for them. This is almost as big as when they introduced the zombie mode, which has been such a big success for them over the years. But ditching the campaign mode, I think, has turned off some, but it's enlightened others. And like you said, there is a lot of talk out there. There is a lot of interest in social media. Whether or not that translates into sales beyond what Red Dead Redemption 2, I have my doubts on that because, as you and I both know, Rockstar games seem to have a continuous amount of legs. And while I don't expect that game to reach the heights of anywhere near what Grand Theft Auto 5 does, I do think it will outsell in the long run what Call of Duty Black Ops 4 would do. But that's not to say that Call of Duty Black Ops 4 is going to be actually down from previous years. I think with the interest and fresh blood that Blackout offers to people, that they may actually get involved and invested in Call of Duty again, maybe to a marketed increase over the past few years in the Call of Duty series. But I don't know. It's kind of funny because you take away something good that people wanted, but most people that they say, according to what their statistics said, only dealt with it once or not even at all, and add something in there that just accentuates the multiplayer platform and doesn't give anyone that just really wants to have a singular Call of Duty experience anything to latch onto at all.
Right, and that's interesting too because you bring up the point of it basically it becomes, like
It's an MMO for all intents and purposes.
well, in MMO, yeah, but it seems more like I
Well,
won't say
okay, a multiplayer experience. It's a Destiny or something of that
it's a
nature that
Counter
really.
Strike. It's basically Counter Strike. There's not really your terrorist versus non-terrorist or whatever you want to call it. It's not connected to anything really. Well, allegedly Counter Strike's connected to the Valve games, but no one's ever proven that. But the yeah. So it's just kind of like when you only have your multiplayer elements, like it does remove the lore. So Call of Duty is built on, that's why they have all these different, they have Ghosts and Black Ops and Modern Warfare. If they remove the single player aspects of it, it just is, Call of Duty is just a name. Like there's not really, they're kind of deleting the whole franchise and just giving people a multiplayer game. So it's not, I don't know, it almost in the end would feel like it's something, if this is something they want to pursue, it would be something that would lose out to a free to play model because they're not giving players much more than just a multiplayer experience, with which Fortnite does for free.
And I understand the studio that is behind Black Ops 4. I know it was their turn to go and create this game because they have 3 alternating studios creating different Call of Duty games in the series. But I think when it comes down to it, if you were to ask me or ask a lot of people which is their favorite parts of the Call of Duty series or the favorite, I guess, IP of the Call of Duty itself, a Call of Duty phenomenon itself, I would say they would probably have to be the Modern Warfare series. So I ask you, would it have been a better idea to maybe incorporate into a Modern Warfare setting instead of a Black Ops setting? Black Ops has been very successful for them, although it's been also part of the decline in sales over the past few years because Black Ops 3 did not perform as well as other games in the franchise. But I ask you, might it have been better for maybe an association for casual gamers out there, maybe revisiting the Modern Warfare universe, not the Modern Warfare scenario instead?
No, I think it's just a moment in time, honestly. Like Battle Royale's doing really well. Call of Duty wanted to, I don't know, try something new or try to cash in on the Battle Royale train that's currently going. But it was just Black Ops. It was their turn to go out, and they happened to coincide with the explosion of the Battle Royale genre. And I think that it just, the game was not big enough for battle royale and single player, so they decided to go on what they thought was going to be the most marketable. And whether or not that pays off in the end, we'll have to see. But I can't imagine them removing the single player altogether. But at this point, like if this is successful, it sounds like it might be something that they would want to look into.
I still have my doubts long term about it because, as you and I both know, these I guess times in gaming, these cycles in gaming, when it comes to like the horde mode, which everybody tried to duplicate, zombie mode, which everybody tried to duplicate as well. Those come and go. Those go in cycles. Although the zombies are still somewhat here to see, here and around. Obviously, the zombies are still a favorite part of the Call of Duty series. But when it comes to something like the Battle Royale genre, I don't see it lasting forever. So at some point in time, Call of Duty is probably going to get off that. And whether or not they go back to a single player campaign mode on it and say, oh yeah, it's back. It's great back. It's back and it's great and it's better than ever as a selling tool, that could be something. But you're right. At least for the next year, 2, maybe we could be or even more, we could be seeing the Battle Royale Blackout or a version of it added into future Call of Duty installments as well.
Well, it also raises the question too of what's going to happen when Battle Royale is no longer popular, or if in the long run Fortnite the free to play model of Fortnite, like I said earlier, becomes a more preferred option over playing, like, paying $60 for just a battle royale game with some zombie stuff on it. What happens when that goes down, or when battle royale fizzles out, if it ever does? What's Call of Duty going to do with a defunct, single player mode? Maybe that's a good marketing strategy to be like, hey, we're reintroducing the single player, 3 or 4 years down the line. But what do you think of that scenario?
That's probably what will happen, and that's probably what we'll see happening, because Call of Duty will continue, unless the numbers really go downhill, will continue to be a yearly installment. And at some point, the Battle Royale fad, whatever you want to call it, the interest level will probably wane off at least a little bit, if not more, at some point. So it will necessitate at some distinct point in time Activision saying, you know what, we need to go ahead and reevaluate things and maybe move away from it. I don't see it like you said, maybe coming off for at least 2, 3, 4 years down the line. But at some point, they will reintroduce either a campaign or some type of other multiplayer centric mode that maybe we haven't even thought of yet, or maybe we haven't even come up or designed with yet, that will be a part of that for the gamers that'll come out in those yearly installments. Like I was saying, 2, 3, 4 years down the road. My question to you now is, with all that said and done in regards to Call of Duty Black Ops 4 being such a major part of the holiday season, you said there was more interest and talk in social media in regards to Black Ops 4 over games such as Red Dead Redemption 2. Do you think in the long run that this will lead to higher sales for Black Ops 4 and high enough sales that it will pass and exceed what we're expecting out of Red Dead Redemption 2? Because I don't think it will. But then again, like I said, I'm a firm believer in the Rockstar product and the Rockstar marketing push that they always seem to give it. I just think the Rockstar name has such a high value because of what we've seen out of the Grand Theft Auto series. I think right now they have a little bit better name out there than the Call of Duty series right now going forward. But this might change. I think the race might be a little bit closer than we're anticipating. Your thoughts on the battle? Your thoughts on the battle upcoming this holiday between Call of Duty Black Ops 4 and Red Dead Redemption 2?
I don't think there's going to be much of a battle. It's going to be, as soon as Red Dead comes out, I guarantee you we're going to see a sharp drop in Call of Duty players. And maybe they're going to go back after they finish Red Dead, because that's I guess that's the great thing about a game like that, is that you.
But then again, Red Dead Redemption 2 will not be coming out with an online component until later, similar to what happened with Grand Theft Auto 5.
So yeah, so then players will play the campaign and probably go back to Black Ops. But I don't see Call of Duty outselling Red Dead in the meantime. Maybe further down, and we'll see what happens on like Black Friday when things go on sale. But Red Dead is a highly anticipated game, and people have been wanting to play it forever. And even once the multiplayer comes out, it's still going to do really well. I do not, in a million years, seeing a Call of Duty game outsell Red Dead.
One last thing, I guess different maneuver that Activision did by putting Call of Duty Black Ops 4 ahead of the release of Red Dead Redemption 2. Your thoughts on that? And at one time, Battlefield, remember, was going to be this same week as well, getting the jump on Red Dead Redemption 2, but decided to back off and release in November. So your thoughts on this? Is this something that we're still going to be, is this something that is going to continue in the future, or is this something that Call of Duty will revert back to its November nature come 2019?
I think it's just because nobody, a smart person would not release a game within 5 weeks before or after Red Dead Redemption. So that's why you saw like Assassin's Creed and Forza come out earlier in October, and then Call of Duty, I guess, came out. But yeah, I think Red Dead is the big factor here, and if that doesn't come out, obviously that's not going to come out again next year. So I think they'll go back to normal. But who knows? Maybe there's bigger games, more anticipated games. Maybe there's going to be a Halo or a Gears of War or something falling in those spots. So it really will be the battle of the old school shooters. But I think it's just because Red Dead 2 is such a colossus, and everyone's been talking about it, and all the games media. It has the power of the games media behind it. So that's why I don't see it. I don't see Call of Duty being like much of a threat to it.
Well, it's interesting that they moved it up and adjusted it, just like you said, to get the jump on Red Dead Redemption 2. I believe as well that it will revert back to its November starting point with next year's iteration of Call of Duty. It was interesting to see Battlefield shift back into the November marketplace, and also Fallout 76 remain in that November timeframe. having their beta. They're trying to get some interest with people right as Red Dead Redemption 2 is going to start hitting shelves, trying to take away customers' interest. But both Battlefield and Fallout 76 are going to be November releases, and they're going to be right smack dab in the first couple weeks of sales for the first couple weeks of sales for Red Dead Redemption 2. So it's going to be very interesting because in a short period of time, within an 8-week span, you have so many high profile releases when you've got FIFA, Assassin's Creed, Call of Duty Black Ops 4, you have Red Dead Redemption 2, Battlefield, Fallout 76, and even if you want to stretch it a little bit further with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, you've got a lot of high-profile releases, all trying to vie for your pocketbook. So it's going to be a very interesting time for the sales, for the NPD charts, and also a great time for gamers with all these great games coming out. What are your thoughts on Call of Duty Black Ops 4? Do you see it achieving a higher success rate than previous recent installments of the Call of Duty series? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanica Media, and Game Source on Facebook and Twitter as well. We also want to hear your thoughts. Just send us a DM or a tweet or what have you on Blackout itself. Your thoughts on it. Is it a Fortnite killer? Is it a PUBG killer? Let us know if you think it's better than both those games as far as the mode known as Blackout, which is their version that's hitting with the Battle Royale mix added into it. Like I said before, we're going to have a great episode coming up for you indeed. Coming up right after the break, we've got Mike Faber of the ESO Network and Kevin Eldridge of the Flopcast. They're going to be talking the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The nominees, again, were announced this past a few days ago, and everybody's excited to see who is going to make it in. We're going to share our thoughts on who we think of those nominees should go in. And then also Tyler Baker from the Fantasy Football Pater podcast. He's going to stop by with some notes from Week 6 in the NFL and also some other things as well. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. And we're back with the Pop Culture Cosmos. This is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We truly thank you again for listening to the show. As we close it out here, just want to make sure and let you know, please don't forget to nominate the Pop Culture Cosmos on the Discover Pod Awards. The nominations are going to be announced in the near future, and it is up to you to please help us get into there. If you can, the links are available on our Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source Facebook pages. I'm also trying to get this guy to get me some space on his Humanica Media Facebook page as well to post it up there and get us to see if you can get any help that we can in getting our show, the Pop Culture Cosmos show, nominated for that. If you say Pop Culture Cosmos /PCC Multiverse, it's essentially the same show. That's fine. That's more specific, but I think they'll get it if the I've dealt with the Discover Pods Awards. We've been nominated before. We've been humbled, but to be nominated for the award before. So Pop Culture Cosmos is just fine. You want to go ahead and let us know if you went ahead and nominated us for the Best Society and Culture Podcast, Best Entertainment, or the Best Overall Podcast of 2018. Let us know. We want to thank you so much. We'll thank you over the social media. We'll thank you on the air, whatever you need to, whatever you want. We just I don't know what we want, but we'll thank you over the social media. We'll thank you so much as far as being, honored and being able to, allowing us to be a part of your listening habits and allowing us to be so gracious, allowing you giving us the chance to nominate us for the Discover Pods Awards. Also as well, we're being played around the world 7 days a week, and you can get a schedule on where we're at via radio stations or also podcast stations, podcast networks as well. And you can find that schedule on our Facebook page and Game Source Facebook page, Game Source, and Pop Culture Cosmos. It's going to be a lot of editing there. It's going to suck. Anyways, Josh, you got a great thing going on with Humanica Media. So give us the info, my friend. Let us into that secret dark place known as Humanica Media. Share the goods, man. What's going on with Humanica Media?
We got a new Topic Apocalypse dropping tomorrow. Right now you can check out one that went up last week called Adulting. We talk about why adulting is difficult and why we can't do it and why we're unqualified to even be talking about it. So that's fun. Also, we're on the Podcast Radio Network on Tuesdays. Gerald, tell them what time.
You're so mean. You always lay the pressure on me. It's a good thing I remembered. It's a good thing I remember. Topicocalypse appears every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific on the Podcast Radio Network. I remember that because I know you're going to get me on it. Anyways, 25 years, man. 25 years ago this weekend, 25 years ago this past weekend, theaters were graced across the U.S. with a poignant story and one of Tim Burton's finest movie achievements, and that was A Nightmare Before Christmas. I wanted to talk about it at length with you, my friend, because it does turn 25. It did turn 25 this weekend. I want to ask you your thoughts on the not only the movie itself, but the cultural relevancy, because even to this day, I mean, you go to Hot Topic, you go across the internet, you see a lot of people still have a lot of fondness and love for it, and that just as far as Jack Skellington, his character, his love in the film, his love interest in the film as well. I mean, even to the point where it comes to the fact that you're still going to Halloween stores and there is a full display, a full section devoted to A Nightmare Before Christmas because it has remained so relevant, and this comes after a film that hasn't been played on television very much, and it also didn't even garner over $100 million at the box office worldwide because it only played in the U.S.
It's weird with that one. I don't even think Disney knew how successful that was going to be. It kind of, when I think about The Nightmare Before Christmas, I think about it in the same way I think about Clerks. Clerks, no one really knew what Clerks was at first. Nobody cared, but then it slowly became like a cult classic. Clerks or Boondock Saints or whatever you want to call it. I think that Nightmare Before Christmas, basically the Clerks or Boondock Saints of Disney.
Or Office Space or a lot of these other things as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that Disney kind of started to notice that it had a special place in certain people's hearts. They go to Hot Topic and buy the T-shirts or whatever, and the little. I remember the VHS came with a little like Jack Skellington toy that you could play with. It kind of gained momentum. It took it a long time. Well, it took it 15 years to gain momentum. But I think when Disney finally started noticing that they could market it, then they took advantage of that, started popping up at Disneyland and putting it in the Haunted Mansion ride and getting the merch out everywhere, reproducing the movies. It has had a very unique impact on the pop culture realm, especially like the emo scene. I was reaching out on Facebook looking for emo screamo bands that people like, and you look up a lot of these bands on like their websites and stuff, and you see little banners of Nightmare Before Christmas stuff. So it has bled into a lot of the different subcultures that exist within the things that we like to talk about. And I don't know exactly what caused that. I think it's just a tidal wave of people going back to it, because even the younger generations are now watching the movies and picking up the merch and all that stuff. So it's not momentum or a positive avalanche, I guess. Like it's just picked up speed and collected more interest, and it's still going. I don't really see it stopping anytime soon.
Well, it's just so interesting to see. Like I said, I've been to Halloween stores this year already, and I've been to several of them, and the amount of space that they devote to Jack Skellington and Sally, who are the integral parts of the movie and their love story, and the tremendous singing that they provided, and the songs and the whole animation, which earned an Academy Award nomination and all that when the year it came out. It's just it's just so interesting to see how these cult classics just bloom and just grow. And it's not, like I said, because the film itself, like let's take Shawshank Redemption. Yeah, you're right. It's even in King. It's just such a part of our culture. It's in even in video games. The Kingdom Hearts we spoke about as far as all the different Disney properties. It's part of that as well. But let's take for example like something like Shawshank Redemption, which did nothing at the box office, very small numbers comparatively speaking, just like A Nightmare Before Christmas. And but in the case of Shawshank Redemption, it found its life, it found a new life, it found a great appreciation because of the fact that it kept repeating on TV so many different times during the period of the latter 90s and early 2000s, to the point where it just became so appreciated and understood as far as a great film that it is. In the case of A Nightmare Before Christmas, it wasn't given that kind of TV love repeatedly and shown at such a level where people could grow that fondness for it. People have had to search out why this movie is so special and to understand why and how this movie worked so well the first time around, because like I said, it did not even generate over $100 million in its total combined box office, and yet it is still far surpassed many of the more, how should I say, well-known or well-watched Disney properties that they've had. And it's just interesting to see that this movie, with its characters, with Sally, with Jack Skellington, have been able to grow in popularity only more and more with each passing year.
Well, I don't know. Here's an interesting aspect of it. Let me throw this at you. I remember growing up and having friends who weren't actually allowed to watch it. And so just being cut off from it garnered more interest in it as they were getting older. And, a lot of people I know actually went back and watched it for the first time 5 or 6 years after it came out. So I don't know, maybe it's got a bit of like Deadpool syndrome to it, but again, like the whole emo and goth cultures were founded on Nightmare Before Christmas merch, though. So you have a lot of people who, listen to Hawthorne Heights and wear Nightmare Before Christmas stuff. Like that was the cool thing to do. And I think that eventually whoever did the marketing for Disney or does the marketing for Disney caught on to that. And that's what kind of created this whole thing where they're like, oh, well, let's go back and see just how interested people were in this, because there's a lot of old Disney properties that nobody really cares about. But I guarantee you that if people start wearing like Great Mouse Detective shirts, eventually people are going to walk around and be like, Great Mouse Detective, what is that? And they're going to go back and watch it and it's going to become popular. It's very interesting. I think there's a psychological aspect to it as well as just the fact that it's a classic movie.
And I agree with you on that. There is something more. There has to be something more when it comes to why the Nightmare Before Christmas has touched upon so many lives after its initial release in theaters. Because as I've said before, it didn't achieve the heights and the levels that obviously a movie that is still so popular and a property that is still so beloved to even to this day deserved or should have garnered in the first place. And that part of it it's just a shame, but maybe it's helped to cultivate this cult status, cultivate this popularity, and help it grow, because the fact it did not achieve that outstanding success on the silver screen.
Yeah, that's actually a good point too. Maybe it's the fact that it wasn't
It's
like
like a hidden secret, maybe.
yeah, it's like how everyone it's like folk music. Everyone's like, yeah, nobody likes folk music, so I'm gonna listen to Mumford and Sons until my ears bleed. And then boom, all of a sudden Mumford and Sons are the most popular band in the world pretty much. So I think you're onto something there. I think you're onto something.
There you go. Hey. But it is A Nightmare Before Christmas. It is 25 years old now, and I see it having a long-lasting love for it from fans all over the world for years to come. And I think it's going to be re-envisioned or reimagined in some form or another. I think Disney at some point in time is going to sit down and say, hey, we need to remind people about why this movie is so beloved and how special it is. So at some point when the super fans get a little older and they need, Disney needs to remind them of exactly how special it is so that their kids will love Jack Skellington, Sally, and everything that went on with The Nightmare Before Christmas. I see something as reimagining. I don't want to say a sequel to it, because I'm not sure a sequel would work, but some type of revisiting to the world of A Nightmare Before Christmas that will reinvigorate people and keep it lasting for some time to come.
Do you think that this is one of the essential Tim Burton movies, or would you call it kind of like the redheaded stepchild of Tim Burton movies?
That's actually a very good question. And I would say it is something that you have to go out of your way to see. I think it's something that you should go out of your way to see because it is one of his best works of art. Because Tim Burton, his style is unique. He adds a certain flavor, panache, and touch to films that not everybody can actually bring to the table when it comes to the movie scene. So, his works, whatever you feel, his works have been all over the place and very polarizing, whether it works or whether it doesn't work because of his style and his vision when he creates his movies. For every Nightmare Before Christmas, there's his other movies which have not fared so well, but then there's also Batman, which has, and so many others which have worked. So I will say this, that at some point in time, you must go out of your way to see a Nightmare Before Christmas and understand why it's so special and why it has retained so much love and even grown into even more than a cult status, to even where people that have never even had a chance to see the movie still understands who Jack Skellington and Sally are when they walk by a store, a retail outlet, or online, or a Halloween store and see those Jack Skellington outfits and Sally outfits and understand why, and understand that Nightmare Before Christmas must be really special as it now hits its 25th year. What are your thoughts on A Nightmare Before Christmas? Did you see it? Have you loved it? Are you one of the many millions of people out there that now have embraced it so many years after its initial release? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanica Media, and Game Source on Facebook and Twitter as well. And happy birthday to Nightmare Before Christmas. 25 years old. That just means you and I have gotten a lot older, Josh.
What do they say? 50 is the new 30 and so on and so forth. So I think as society keeps saying things like that, we're going to get younger. So it's all good.
I hope so, Josh. I certainly hope so. So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the Pop Culture Cosmos. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great day. Want to record a couple things before we go. Thanks so much to Tyler Baker from the Fantasy Football Patriot Podcast for coming on the show. Also as well, Kevin Eldridge from the Flopcast and Mike Faber of the ESO Network. Thank you so much for coming in and sharing your thoughts on our program today. Remember to catch their shows, the Flopcast, and all the great ESO Network stuff on esopodcast.com or esonetwork.com as well. And don't forget as well to nominate us if possible. We truly would appreciate if you can for the Discover Pods Awards. You can catch the link today on our Facebook page at Game Source, Pop Culture Cosmos, and hopefully, if I can remind him to do so, or maybe I'll just go ahead and pin it myself, on Humanica Media as well. Boop.